Everybody, and welcome back to the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge here for Season 11. We are just 3 rounds away from the end of this championship now, and all 3 of our categories are still up for grabs in this championship. However, 2 of them could be settled tonight. Gt3 Pro and Gtm have potential winners by the end of today. Let's see if we can see early champions by the end of this 1-hour race in Italy at Imola, a circuit that's coming back into fashion ever so slightly over the last couple of years. Used to be a really historic circuit used long time ago, but now it's being used every week, it seems. We're here in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge as well. Very excited to be here once again. My name's Ewan O'Leary. I'll be alongside Steve proudly once again. And Steve, as I say, 3 rounds from the end. Imola coming up. Not an easy circuit to have at this end of the season, but we're here. And as I said, it's coming into fashion, and why not? Because it's a great circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic circuit. Not quite sure how much these guys are going to enjoy it this evening, because it is going to cause some problems and it's going to cause some altercations, I would imagine, when they are trying to get past each other, as we say every week. But last week they had it relatively easy at Le Mans, last time out at Le Mans, although we did see a few incidents, and Jeffrey Humes obviously came unstuck with some contact there and lost what was pretty much looked like a win, looked like his race to lose, and indeed he did lose it. So yeah, but tonight it's going to be interesting, it's going to be close, it's going to be tight, but the qualifying is underway, and the prototypes are on track now, and Jeffrey Humes is looking like the man to beat again.
Yes, he's looking like a man possessed, actually. 1 second of a lead he has at the minute in this qualifying session ahead of Carter Gundiger. There are your track facts, though. Looking at things at the moment, just under 5 kilometres around here. Very, very quick as well. Not as quick as it used to be, thankfully, in some ways. But also it is still quite a quick circuit, quite narrow as well, as you might have noticed on Sunday indeed, in the racing that went here just yesterday. It's quite difficult to get through on one another, but let's see how the racing pans out here today. As I mentioned, 2 of these championships can be settled here tonight. Unfortunately, in Gt3 Pro, it doesn't look like we're going to even get the chance of that, because I've counted the top 3 in the championship are all not here today, which means it will go on at least until the Nürburgring, where Ryan Wieslewski really is going to have to gain some points. But let's look at the Gtm standings first, because this championship really could be settled here today. Ryan Robertson is leading Trent Brown at the moment by 77 points over the 2 of them. Kevin O'Keefe needs to gain points today to get back into contention, but Trent Brown can't lose many points if he wants to stay in contention by the end of today. It doesn't look like he's going to do that, because he is not on the starting grid right now. So Ryan Robertson only needs 4 points tonight to win this championship. 4 points, which would be a 27th finishing place. That would do it for him. Or a various combination of getting no incidents and fastest laps and pole positions, which it looks like he's going to get at the moment. This is the Gt3 Pro standing at the moment. Ross Boove and Ryan Wieslewski are 1 and 2, but neither of them are here. So Boove is going to get, because of the drop weeks, Boove is going to gain 21 points on Wieslewski today, which is not quite enough to seal the championship here. Bradley Haley is in 3rd. Paul Gibson is the highest man up in the championship here today. He is on pole for this category. He's having a good run out today, which is good to see, getting himself back in contention maybe as well. Finally, moving on to LMP2, the only one, or the prototype category I should say, the only one that can't be settled today. Billy Smith II and Carter Gundiger are only separated by 21 points. Then we've got Robert Tinsey still clinging on to contention, as well as David Schutt and Jeffrey Humes, who really do have very long shots at this stage. But yeah, it really is about Billy Smith versus Carter Gundiger. And at the moment, Gundiger is in 2nd place in this qualifying session. Billy Smith still not with a lap time. So this race is going to be very, very important for those 2. And there is the O2 car, the man who needs to make up all the points, Carter Gundiger. And he's been making a good fist of it over the last couple of weeks, I have to say. Winning at Le Mans, of course, a huge win for Gundiger 2 weeks ago. But is it too little too late in this championship? It may well be, with a 21-point margin, but he did all he could last week. Yeah, fair play to him for that.
He's had a strong run in this championship, whatever the outcome now. I think Gundiger, he's been there at pretty much most weeks. He's scored relatively well, and he's always battled on. He's had some races where he's been knocked back and he's had a few incidents, but he's stayed out there. He's done what he needs to do to get the points. So I think he's been one of the drivers of the championship for me. He's been pretty consistent, and he's had some good results. So round of applause for Carter Gundiger in my eyes.
Yeah, he's done a very good job. as Cunningham, and he's doing a decent one right now in qualifying. Nobody can get near Jeffrey Humes, as you can see, but Robert Tinsey is not too far away from Cunningham at the moment. We've also got a great performance from Austin Young. Once again here, jumps up to second place with a great lap there for himself. Young, of course, made his first appearance of the season at Le Mans last time out. Was on course for a very good finish, but it ended up falling way down the order in the end, unfortunately. Yeah, the signs were promising for him, as Cunningham has set himself up to have another lap here. We'll get a little view as to what Imola is really like from the driver's point of view, especially one of these LMP2s heading into the first chicane, trying to bounce over those curves and maximise the room of this circuit as much as you possibly can. It's quite narrow and there's not much tarmac to use, but Cunningham trying to use all of it at the moment, trying to open out the second part of the Villeneuve chicane there on the run up to Tosa, which is obviously one of the slowest corners on the circuit, if not the slowest, as you get yourself up the hill towards Piratella. A very difficult turn indeed, medium speed, kind of high speed in these high downforce cars. Just got to chuck it in and hope that the car sticks, really. And Cunningham fighting that one a little bit with the oversteer. Now Aqua Minerale and braking around a corner, never advisable, but you kind of have to there, making it one of the trickiest corners on the circuit. As you go uphill again towards the chicane, the Variante Alta right at the top, which literally translates as high chicane, by the way, which just sounds weird in English, but anyway, we move downhill towards Ravazza, final couple of corners. You may see a couple of overtakes here, but it always is a little bit on the edge, and it's always a little bit hairy, so we'll see what happens down here during the race. Get yourself over these curbs, once again maximising the road as much as you possibly can, and then out onto the front straight once again. Looked fairly tidy for Cunningham, but not as tidy as it maybe could have been in some places. Third place, though, I think he'd settle for that. If you just told him he would get third at the start of this qualifying session, he might have settled for it. And it looks like he might have to settle for that by the looks of these times at the moment, unless, of course, the likes of Robert Tinsey can push him down even further.
Yeah, I mean, just on board there with Cunningham, it looked pretty cool, calm and collected going around there, but make the most of that view, because once we get all these cars out there, the nature of this track, the length of the track, it's going to get very, very busy very, very quickly with passing sort of the slower cars for these guys. And I think 60 minutes round here is going to feel like an eternity, and it's going to be very interesting to see what the attrition rate is around here tonight.
Yeah, certainly. There's 31 cars currently entered onto the field. I would say that, well, 2/3 of them are GTs. I would say nearly half of the entire field, and probably more than half, are GTMs, who are headed, of course, by Ryan Robertson, who, interestingly, has taken pole for the whole GT3 class overall. As I mentioned, he's already 1 point closer to clinching that title. Obviously, if he gets no incidents and the fastest lap, then obviously this maths changes, but now he only needs to finish 28th in the GT standings overall, which is ludicrous, especially considering there are only about 21 GTs in the order right now. Just needs to get to the end, really, and he will be champion by the end of tonight. But you may have seen the Robert Tinsey car just making his way past Cunningham on the final laps here. Cunningham on an outlap right now, trying to do something about that, but for the moment Tinsey is third, and he's had an interesting season, I have to say, the four-time champion. You'd expect him to maybe do a little bit better, but he really did start off the season very slowly. Now finally, with 4 second places in a row, which has got to be some kind of record, he's starting to find his feet in this championship, but he is still quite far away.
Yeah, and I mean, we're talking about, we've talked about Tinsey there, we spoke about Cunningham. The drivers that I'll try not to use the word disappointed in, but the drivers that have fallen short of early season expectations for me, Dan Neese, I thought he was going to do well from the start. He had a really flying start to the season, and then he just seems to have just been overrun with bad luck and incidents and whatnot. And then if you go back to the GT, the AMS, O'Keefe, he was having a strong run to the season, and then in the last few rounds, last 3-4 rounds, he's been unlucky. He's dropped down the order for incidents and accidents. There's been a few drivers that have just not been able to stay the course and carry on with the results. So it's been an interesting one for my first season to be involved with the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. Yeah,
throwing into that mix as well, Jeffrey Humes, who obviously came in halfway through, but did start off with 3 wins on the bounce. So he could be put into that category as well. Robert Tinsley's race-winning drought, though, is continuing, I'm afraid to say, for him. He's got 29 wins in this championship, let's not forget. Not this season, lad. I mean, in all-time history. The drought goes on, though. It's been a good few seasons now. I think possibly season 6, maybe a little bit more recently than that. But yeah, it's been a good while since Robert Tinsley stood on the top step of the podium. He's come second 4 times in a row now, which is going to be disappointing for him, and it has been disappointing for him. But maybe today will be the day. Tinsley comes up towards the line right now. Where will he get to? Is he going to get any closer to Young? Not really. At 1.3 seconds off of Ooms' time there with that lap. Kundiger a little bit wayward through the Variante Alta, it has to be said, so he doesn't look like he's going to be improving on this lap unless he really does pull something out the bag. He's going to be the final driver to come across the line, but it doesn't look like he's even going to do that because he drives across through the gravel and will have to settle for 4th, although he's well ahead of his rival Billy Smith, who is in 8th position, although only 7 tenths behind.
Yeah, I was just going to mention Billy Smith, but don't discount Billy Smith. We've seen him many times this season, maybe not perform as well as he should do in qualifying, but by the end of lap 2 or 3, he's getting up there and he's almost into podium positions. He seems to be pretty good at starting races and getting through the traffic if he falls short in qualifying. So don't discount Billy Smith from making his way through the field early on, and it's going to be important to do that quickly, I think, tonight, because as we've said many times, they're going to come around to start lapping cars pretty quickly around here, and once that happens, making places becomes difficult.
Yes, it certainly does. It's going to be quite difficult without the traffic, to be honest, so let's see who can get it done. Of course, pit stops will have to be made as well. The LMP2s can go just over the half hour. The GTs will be able to get towards the 40-minute mark, 45-minute mark, if they want to, of course. They may decide to make a bit of an early stop, as we've started to see in recent weeks. The guys just going for something a little bit different as the season begins to wind down. A couple of weeks' time we'll be at the Nürburgring, of course, in Germany, and then the finale at Spa, which is another 90-minute extravaganza, hopefully with a championship on the line in at least one of these categories. But let's wait and see on that one. The cars are going to get themselves ready on the run down towards Hrvatsa. Final couple of corners on this circuit, of course. Or as I mentioned, there could be some risky moves made if indeed somebody wants to risk it. But yeah, let's see. Let's have a look at the grid though before we go any further. Jeffrey Ooms and Austin Young are going to be on the front row together. Ooms with a great qualifying lap there to grab pole ahead of Tinsley and Kundiger. That's a very exciting second row to be looked at. John Ulmer is in fifth position. Leif Peterson in 6th. Dominic Durnenberg lines up behind them with championship leader Billy Smith the second in 8th. Then Daniel Nunes and Chris Sherburn will be rounding out your LMP2s. Moving on to the GT AMs, this is not a mistake, we're looking at these first. Ryan Robertson is actually on the pole of the GT overall class. That's how quick he was today. 8, nearly 9 tenths ahead of Robert Cast. Luke Schmidt third ahead of Franco Margarella. Then we've got Bradley Salmon running out the top 5. David Parry just behind him. Then it's Boyd Payne and Sheldon Rosenbaum on the 4th row. Dale Green and Jason Iverson round out the top 10. Sean Rees and Mark Santana will be alongside one another as well. Then moving a little bit further down, we have Jordan Bazugli as well, possibly, who will be getting underway. As well as these guys in the GT Pro order, Paul Gibson, 4th in the championship coming into today, but has a big chance to take a big step forwards. Young Park will be alongside him. Albert Jones will be in 3rd ahead of Johan Shirazi. Christopher Pays rounds out the top 5. Nico Kopcar just outside of it, with Patrick McDaniel and Mark Kedrowski rounding out your 8-car GT Pro field. So a slightly diminished field, but I think that will be a blessing to some of these guys around here. It's a relatively short circuit, just under 5 kilometres. It's certainly not very wide, and this first run through traffic is going to be as nervy as ever, and the stakes are only getting higher as we get towards the end of this season now. Only 3 races to go, only 3.5 hours of racing to go as well. It really does feel like the last chance for some of these guys, especially the likes of Paul Gibson in GT Pro trying to make up some points. especially Carter Kundinger as well, who we've already mentioned in 4th position. A big day ahead of him as he tries to gain back some points.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Young gets on tonight, because he like you said, at Le Mans he was making his way back through the field, and it was in the later stages where he got involved in an incident that really put paid to him. But he was putting on some great lap times. He was really setting the pace, and he was catching the cars in front with no problem whatsoever. Just had some unfortunate contact that put paid to his podium challenge there. So starting in 2nd place on that front row with Ooms, I think it'd be interesting to see if he can go with Ooms. I know Ooms has qualified well and qualified with a relatively large interval between himself and Young, but it'd be interesting to see if Young can hang on to the back of him, because that's what we see week after week. We see Ooms qualifying on pole, and he seems to just manage to get away, and the rest of them just trip up over themselves fighting away. So it'd be interesting to see if Young's got the pace to go with him tonight.
It certainly will. Young really did impress at Le Mans in his season debut, season 11 debut, that is, rather than an overall debut in this championship. We have indeed seen him before this season, which is good. We'll see where he gets to on this particular race as the last drivers get themselves ready. In particular, Ooms and Tinsey, who seem to be taking their time getting the strategy correct for this one, and they are just going to pop into position just in time for the pace car to pull away. As I mentioned, I believe 31 cars, but Jordan Bazugli may join us at the back of the field as well. We'll see if indeed he does. As Franco Margrella just pops out there. I hope that wasn't a disconnection for him, but let's wait and see on that one. Still waiting for the pace car to pull away. Well, Gibson there on the front row as well. It's very bizarre to see him. We don't often see this. Ross Booth, Ryan Brzeski and Bradley Haley, 1, 2, 3 in the championship. All 3 of them are not here, so I guess there's as good a chance as any for Paul Gibson to gain some points today. He's going to have to, really, at 62 points back coming into today.
Yeah, he needs to maximise the opportunities being presented right now and keep it clean and get a good finish, and hopefully bring it home in front of the GT Pro field. So he's just not going to have to take on any silly battles and trip up over anybody, and just focus on bringing that one home and maximising the points and the opportunity, like we say.
Pace car does indeed now finally get away, and these drivers haven't got long to get themselves ready to go racing here at Imola. It's going to be Jeffrey Ooms and Austin Young on the front row together. Robert Tinsey and Carter Kundinger going to be fancying their chances from the 2nd row in a 10-car LMP2 field. A little bit smaller this time, but the GT3s are going to be very glad about that, you can be sure. Through the final corner they go on this very short formation lap, and the pace car is going to pull in. We're now under the control of Jeffrey Ooms, who's qualified on pole here, and for the 7th time in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, we get underway at Imola, and it's a good start from the pole sitter Ooms. Young not able to match him first of all, but Tinsey is able to, and he gets a good start. Nice slipstream as well, but doesn't have the legs coming down towards turn 1 by the looks of things, and they all go into single file behind. It's Ooms, Young, Tinsey, Kundinger, Ulmer, your top 5 coming through the first corner, and then further behind Ryan Robertson, a GTM car on pole here, which is just bizarre, downright bizarre to be quite honest, but he absolutely deserves it once more. Possibly on his way to a championship, heading down towards turn 1, but wants to get the maximum he can. It's disaster behind though, big disaster for what looks like one of the Porsches that's gone spinning around. Somewhat miraculously, nobody else is caught up in that accident involving Albert Jones, who has big damage to that car.
That was a massive incident there. Just seemed to get maybe tagged and just turned out, and absolutely nothing he could do about that. But like you say, miracle didn't connect anybody else, but still side by side here as they're just looking now to try and slide up the inside, but just thinking better of it there, and come out of the file in coming out of the hairpin in single file and going around for the first time. Not such a bad lap really, apart from that one incident. Relatively clean and all fairly orderly, so they're just getting their heads down now and getting the pace together.
Just getting into the rhythm really as Dominic Durnenberg is immediately trying to move forward. Billy Smith has had a good start here from 8th up to 6th. but he's dropped down to 7th already in this one. That's cost him a couple of points, all important in this race, of course, and Leif Peterson, will try and fancy his chances here as well, moving down the straight. Smith indeed almost letting him through down the straight there, which is bizarre. He slips back down to 8th as we look in the main part of your screen anyway at the GT order, with Nico Kopkar trying to make a move at the moment on one of the Ferraris. This is an AM car in the form of Luke Schmidt, currently 2nd in the AM standings, looking to try and move forward. But you can already see the advantage of qualifying much better than your GT AM cars. There's no field split between the two with the GT categories. You get put where you get put, as it were. Already 4.5 seconds after only one lap for Brian Robertson, and it's about to be even more because Kopkar makes his way through on the Ferrari, putting even more distance between the two AM leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, massive advantage for Robertson, but like you say, well deserved as well. And he's just got to, again, we say it often, and we will keep saying it often. He's just got to keep it clean and focus on his race. And it's when the prototypes start coming back through the field and start to put laps on, that's when they've got to be cautious, have your wits about you, and just try and just have eyes in the back of your head, as it were, to see where they're going to make the moves and make sure there's no contact. But just looking at Tinsey now, and he's looking like he's going to have to defend from Cunningham, and this is a good championship battle between these two now. This is very, very important for the championship.
Certainly is. Tinsey is only 11 points behind Cunningham coming into today, and he's gaining 2 right now, but could end up losing 2 by the end of this straight. Let's see if Cunningham can get the overspeed and get up the inside. There he is, trying to just tuck in, but not close enough. And we're going to see this a repeating pattern, you would imagine, throughout the race. A little bit wide through turn 1 for Tinsey there into the first chicane, and now towards the Villeneuve chicane as well, but not able to get through here either. Would be brave to make a move through here. One thing that's immediately noticeable about the LMP2 field, it's almost split in half. The top 4 seem to be a lot quicker than the rest of the field right now, already 4 seconds behind Cunningham at the end of lap 2.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, I mean, look at Young. He's struggling. He's trying to stay with Ooms, but he's not managing it, has he? But he's managed to get away from Tinsey. Like you say, they're all splitting up. Those two are just running away with it a little bit now, and it's looking fairly quiet for Ooms and Young at the moment. But Tinsey and Cunningham are putting on a good show. And looking back here now at Salmon in 5th place in the GTM, he's looking to move forward and try and get that 4th place.
He certainly is. This is an AM battle, as you say. Quite a long way down in the AM field, it has to be said. For 10th position, Margarella currently in that 10th place. Salmon trying to just get through for the moment, but won't be able to up here, you wouldn't imagine, into Piratella.
Somebody off in the background there, running really wide out of the hairpin and just across the grass. That won't do them any good, but they managed to keep it pointing in the right direction. But I'm pretty sure it will have cost them a place or two towards the back end of the field there. But this is a critical part. You can carry so much speed through the corners and up the hill, and get the all important, the bit of a straight that there is there. Just looking at a replay now, this is the Porsche of Albert Jones, and I don't know if anybody else was involved there, Ewan. Did you spot any contact?
No, it was just a bit of grass, really, I think. It was slightly crowded over there, but it does get quite crowded, really, going down towards turn 1 and in towards Tamburello. So, yeah, not sure. I think he just got on the grass, really. He did very nearly save it, it has to be said. He was weaving left and right, trying to catch the car every which way, but he couldn't quite do it in the end, and unfortunately he is already a retirement from this race, our first of the day. So we're down to 29. Yeah, it doesn't look like any contact to me, just a bit of grass.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just that loss of traction on the grass that just set the Porsche in a bit of a fishtail, and off he went, whiplashing left, right, and yeah, like I say, did well to try and hold it, but there wasn't a lot of room really to save it. Too many cars around as well. It was a risky business.
Yeah, fair play to everybody just behind for being able to avoid that one, because that was very nearly a multiple car incident, I think it's fair to say. I was actually expecting a big pile-up as we look at Mark Santana. everyone's favourite McLaren. Well, my favourite car anyway.
I was going to say your favourite car.
My favourite car by a mile, but unfortunately it's off in the gravel at Acqua Minerale. Not exactly an easy corner. As I said, we were having a bit of a lap preview with Kartekundige during qualifying. You often want to avoid turning and braking at the same time, but the track forces you to do so there. And that's exactly the kind of thing that can happen. That won't be the last time we see that today, I wouldn't imagine.
No, absolutely not. I think that'll be the hot spot for accidents there. There'll be a few cars losing control. Like you say, it's that weight transfer while you're braking, while you're turning, and it all adds up to a recipe for disaster. But like you say, the track forces you into that. But at the moment, he's looking very, very good, and we're looking at Gibson at the moment, who's looking relatively comfortable in the lead of the pros, but he's behind Robertson, who's in the lead over all of the GT cars, and of Gibson in the GT cars, and Gibson's putting on a good show. Sorry, Robertson. I did get it right the first time.
Yeah, it's difficult to. No, we're not used to seeing AM cars in front of pros, especially in the lead of this race, but we're about to see it swapped, I believe. No, Gibson decides to back out of it by the looks of things into Tamburello, so happy to stick behind for the moment. You just need these points, I have to say. 3 on the line here, and all of them very crucial at this end of the season. As I said earlier, he comes in with a 62-point disadvantage to Ross Booth, who's not here today. However, at the moment, in his current score, he's dropping around where he scored 31 points, which was a top 5 finish. He's only finished outside the top 5 once. And so that has become one of his drop weeks, a top 5 finish, which is quite outrageous, but it is the way it is. So technically from this race he is going to be gaining 31 points despite the fact he's not going to be here. So even with a maximum of 43, which Gibson could get today, he's still only gaining 12, which is barely a dent into the 62-point margin. And so because of all of that, these 3 points just in front here to Ryan Robertson are very, very important indeed, and he's going to need these.
He is indeed, but he's also not going to want to end his race with a silly move, so he's doing the right thing, backing out at the right time and just being sensible about it. And we can just sort of see now in, I think the prototypes are starting to come through the GT field as well, and we're only on lap 6, so they're already coming to make their way through. So with only 8.5 minutes, not just under 9 minutes now gone of this race, it's going to start getting very frantic and very busy from now on to the end, I think.
It's not really going to slow down too much throughout the rest of the day, but the leading prototypes are certainly onto the back of the struggling GT3s right now. Robert Tinsey and Kartekundige's battle has just closed up ever so slightly, as you might expect, but the gap to Young has just extended through this little bit of traffic. You come out to see it's about to get very busy indeed. The first couple have just been negotiated, and that might all be all that Kundige needs. He goes to the inside line, 2 wheels on the grass. Tinsey aggressive with the defence, but just about holds on to the place as they make their way into the Variante Tamburello once more. That was a close moment. Kundige had the risk versus reward calculator going overdrive in his head there, and he decided that it wasn't worth the effort. Oh, it's back up in front. 2 cars around, and Kundige has to lock up all of the brakes to get away with it, and he does.
Yeah, but that was the best thing to do there. The safest option was to hit those brakes, because it wasn't a case of the cars were going out of the way, they were coming back across him there. Really, really unlucky, but that's the type of incident that can make or break your race, and it's all out of your control. There was nothing Kundige could do there apart from do what he did and slow down and let the incident unfold and then resume. You know, there was no way he could have avoided it by attacking hard. It's just one of those things. It's the luck of the draw.
I couldn't tell you which the Audi was. Maybe Mark Kudrowski there. Not entirely sure. I'm sure we'll get a replay. Meanwhile, Austin Young has disconnected, I believe, from the race, unfortunately, from second place. So another just little disappointment for him, I'm afraid to say. And there you can see in the prototype standings, he is listed as out of the race for now. He might be able to get back in, but he'll be laps down. And that is a real shame. For the man running second. This was the Audi involved we're just coming up on, but this is Sheldon Rosenbaum in a separate incident, having problems with Acqua Minerale, which is not, as I said earlier, that also won't be the last time we say that here today. Also, Exhibit B, Mark Santana off the road in the McLaren. And yeah, it looks like almost, well, we're experiencing deja vu almost there. This is Christopher Pay's side by side, and so this is the prelude to what we're about to see with the prototypes. Christopher Pay's gets into contact with a BMW. Not entirely sure which BMW that was, who that was, but he certainly has damage here. He's struggling, and then there's going to be a Porsche on his outside line here in a few minutes' time. Here it comes into view. Is he going to chop off the nose? What's going to... Just Pay's going to the side of him. Yeah, the Porsche seems to come across. It was Kudrowski who has gone back to the pit lane. Interestingly, after this incident, Kundiger is a very, very lucky boy, I have to say.
Yeah, he's very lucky that he didn't get caught up in that, but some quick reactions from himself to get that thing slowed down and to avoid the contact. As we go to another replay of Young, that's what happened to Young. That was a big hit, big hit. It
wasn't disconnection at all. Well, that looks hardware to me, actually.
It was. The car just snatched right after he'd gone in, and behind him you could see that other accident just unfolding, so it was a very, very busy corner on that lap as we're just looking at your favourite car again.
Off the road there, that is certainly not the way to do the Variante Alta in the McLaren. Either way, back to live pictures again, because there is action out there on the road. We have frantic opening few laps. Multiple cars involved in incident. Austin Young we've just seen, he's out of the race. Mark Kudrowski looks like he indeed is out of the race, as well as Albert Jones, who didn't even complete a lap of this race here today. I believe everybody else has been able to get going again in some form or another, which is good to see. Robert Tinsey and Carter Cunningham battle has just been separated by this little bit of traffic. However, we've got Leif Peterson and Billy Smith battling over 5th position right now. And as we keep saying, very important, but these battles. Dominic Durnenberg is not too far away from these guys as well, so traffic is already taking its effect on this race. It's taken away from the battle for 2nd, but it's given us the battle for 5th, including 3 cars now, so this is what it's going to continue to do throughout the day, really. We're not even done with the first round of traffic.
No, it's going to be busy, and as we said in the build-up, it's going to feel like an eternity. Is this 60 minutes of racing for these guys tonight, because it's going to be very, very busy around here. And I think it's a blessing in disguise that we've got a few less cars on the grid tonight, because some of the sizes of the fields we've had in some of the rounds has been absolutely massive, and that could have been chaotic around here tonight. But Tinsey and Cunningham, that's an important battle up ahead, as we're looking at Peterson here coming round now, and he's just trying to keep Billy Smith behind him. He's doing a good job. He's managing to get some of the lap traffic in between him, which will do him a little bit of a favour, but Smith's got past it now, and he'll start to close up, and we'll see these relative times as we used to now. They go up and down quite dramatically on some of the laps, just depending how they're hitting these back markers, these GT cars, and it's going to be interesting to see how it all closes up. But yeah, Tinsey Cunningham, that's a battle that I'm watching intently there for the points, but this one as well is just as important. But Smith seems to be having the poor run of the traffic at the moment.
He certainly does. This is that was Paul Gibson that Peterson has just got through on. Smith and Durnenberg are going to have to negotiate him as well. Ryan Robertson with a great run through traffic there, and he's all of a sudden right on the back of Gibson for the lead in the overall GT3 race. But yeah, that's got very close all of a sudden for 6th. Peterson has just been given a little bit of breathing space, and Smith now all of a sudden under pressure. Normally at this kind of situation, it wouldn't be very long at all until we're back at the GT3s once again. However, as we keep mentioning, the slightly smaller field size does mean that it will be a little bit longer, maybe 1 or 2 more laps before Ooms gets onto the back of Mark Santana once again, who's currently bringing up the rear in this race. But for whatever reason, Billy Smith does seem to be struggling today. He has looked formidable in recent weeks, has to be said. Wasn't able to attend at Le Mans, but previously to Le Mans, he was on a run of 6 podium finishes in a row, including 4 race victories, which is a really astonishing record. All of a sudden, he's struggling to keep within the top 5.
Yeah, it can be the nature of the tracks as well. It may be that he's not as familiar with Imola. You know, it might not be one of his favourite tracks, or he's not very experienced here. So, there's many different things, because obviously, the track roster is very varied with all the American tracks, and then the European stuff in there as well. It's a good mix of tracks, and it's very mixed ability, mixed type of tracks with the road circuits, the tight circuits, the big wide open circuits. There's a lot of variation to get used to, so you will find that some of the drivers are better at certain types of tracks than others.
Yeah, we were speaking to a few of the guys after the 7th round of this race, the halfway stage of this season, where we switched from the American circuits to a couple of Asian circuits in Japan, and then we went, obviously we're on our final European home stretch at this stage. A few of the drivers were expressing a little bit of concern of their lack of knowledge compared to the circuits that had come previous, so that can all come into effect. Talking about mixed types of circuits around here, we've got a mix of manufacturers at the moment at the top of GTM. Robertson currently leads for BMW, then it's Luke Schmidt holding off Robert Cast at the moment in his Ferrari, Cast in a Porsche at the moment, and you can just see Bradley Salmon on the back of these guys in the Lamborghini. He's clearly got through on Franco Margrella in recent laps and absolutely left him behind as well. We saw that battle for 4th earlier. Salmon clearly coming out on top with resounding success actually in that one. This battle for 2nd though is looks like a very exciting one, it has to be said. There's an Audi just up in front as well. I think that's Patrick McDaniel in 4th place of the GT Pro category. We have 3-car battle for 2nd, very interesting, and no traffic to interrupt these guys either, which they'll be pretty pleased about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always nice when you can just concentrate on the battle without having to concentrate on blue flags. And these guys, it's nice to see them so close together as well, having a really good battle, as you say, with all the different manufacturers there as well, all the different characteristics of the cars, making them potentially a little bit stronger in some areas than others. And just the Porsche now trying to really get the drag on the Ferrari, but it does look like the slipstream's not taking too much effect for him here. He's not really able to close up on the speed, and the Ferrari's showing good pace and holding on to that 2nd position in the GTMs. And Salmon just hanging on in the background there. He's staying fairly close in that Lamborghini. He's playing a watching brief at the moment. Any incident ahead between these two, and he could be there to capitalise.
The best place to be in a battle like this one, in my opinion. You don't really want to be in the middle, because you have to kind of keep your eyes forwards and backwards at the same time, which is only difficult when you've only got one pair of eyes. Luke Schmidt is going to be looking more out of his rear wing mirror at the moment, rear view mirror, I should say, than he is out the front windscreen at the minute. So that's not easy either. He's also got this a little bit of an annoyance in the form of Patrick McDaniel just up in front here. Doesn't really know whether he wants to overtake the Pro car and kind of get in the way of a car he's not really fighting against, or whether it's better to stick behind for the moment. But either way, he's behind right now. This is Johan Shirazi on the back of Ryan Robertson, who is losing a bit of his lead right now. 10 seconds was his lead previously. It's down to below 8 for the first time. Just want to try and get a view of this BMW. Is there any damage visibly? No, not entirely sure. But all of a sudden he's lost 2 seconds in the last couple of laps. Everything looks to be all fine, but his pace just dropping off over that last lap at least. He was a couple of seconds down on where he should be normally. Let's see if this lap time back into the mid 44s. He's back to it again. But I'd imagine from our conversations with him previously, he won't want to get involved in this pro fight at all. He'd really rather stay out of the way of them.
Yeah, for sure. He'll just want to just do his own thing, and like you say, not get too involved in any of it at the moment. But good to see it up there and putting on a good show and putting in some good lap times. The other man that's putting in the good lap times at the moment, Jeffrey Ooms, 13.5 seconds up the road from Tinsey, and Cunningham just a further second or so back from Tinsey. And that battle for 4th and 5th has all sort of calmed down. I'm just wondering what's happened to Billy Smith at the moment. I wonder where he's got to. He's still in that 6th place, but he seems to have dropped off the pace somewhat. Like you said, he does seem to be struggling tonight.
Yeah, he's still in that battle with Peterson and Durnenberg. I don't know if we can call it a battle quite at this stage, because they are a little bit they're quite far away from each other, just coming over the line right now. But yes, it's all important for Smith, of course, that he does very well once again here today. It looks like Nico Kopkar might also be a retirement from this race by the looks of things. I don't know if we saw what happened to him. He might have disconnected, not entirely sure. But I certainly don't remember anything happening to him. That doesn't mean nothing did, but either way. Battle for second in the overall GT race continues on. It's a bit of a BMW sandwich right now, with Shirazi bringing up the rear.
I'm just seeing on the other one of the other screens as well, Cunningham is actually right on the back of Tinsey now as well. It's looking like he's going to try and go for an overtake, so that battle is hotting up right now as we speak. And they have it there on the screen now with Cunningham and Tinsey just literally line astern, and Cunningham definitely on the attack and putting Tinsey under a little bit of pressure. And he's going to be, if he can keep it tight now through these next few corners, get a good exit onto the start finish, he could get a slipstream, because there doesn't appear to be any GT cars around them really to interfere. They're a little bit further up the road.
Yeah, we're just about to get into the bulk of the traffic once more. If Cunningham wants to make the move before we get there, then he's going to have to do it now, really. We're over a third of the way into this race now, and so traffic is going to be a constant thing to worry about, rather than it coming in fits and starts like it has at the moment. But now through Tamburello, it's going to be a nice run on Tinsey there for Cunningham, but nowhere really to go with it at the Villeneuve chicane, and he stays behind once more. A little bit more traffic now, and some of it will involve the battle for second in GTM. Bradley Salmon gets through on Robert Cast there rather nicely, and he is up into third place in that AM category. And this battle still Young Park heading this train right now. Going to be a very good performance, or it certainly is at the moment a very good performance for Young Park. Don't know if he's been on the podium yet this season. Feels like he's been knocking on the door for quite a few weeks now, but he's not been able to manage it. Yeah, he hasn't managed it just yet. Does have a top 5 to his name, but not a podium. But today just might be the day. There's a big gap back to McDaniel of over 6 seconds now. If he were to lose that podium, which is looking fairly unlikely, but he won't be counting his chickens just yet.
No, and he's got Robertson just behind him there in the AM class, and he's not going to be doing anything silly, because he's just doing what he's been doing all season long now, and just bringing it home for the AM win and scoring some good points. So I think although this is a good battle on track, I don't think we'll see anybody doing anything silly here, and just going to cut back here to the AMs and just see that we can see Cunningham and Tinsey just fighting their way through there, as we see Cunningham still on the back of Tinsey, but now in this situation it's very, very hard for him to try and make a move. And we saw a few laps ago Cunningham actually getting the rough end of the deal and being held up by an incident in front of him. This time nothing like that. We're on board with Cunningham now, and he's still tightly glued to the back of Tinsey, and he's done a good job there of hanging with him and not letting Tinsey get any sort of breakaway on him.
It was all over the curb, almost on the grass as well, on the run down to Tamburello there. That wasn't ideal and would have been a clenching moment for him, but he's got away with it once more. Over the top at Piratella and plunging downhill again. Acqua Minerale, excuse me. TV camera's not quite doing the gradients around here justice. It is a very hilly town actually, Imola, but there we are. There's plenty of elevation changes in this race at the moment. Mike Cow's just confirming to me in my ear. That's why I'm laughing at nobody at the moment. It's a very hilly place, but there you are. Don't have to take my word for it. As we go up to the battle for second in GT3, Ryan Robertson fancying his chances here into Tamburello, but he's never going to risk a move on the outside line like that. Cunningham just might though. Look at this, a good run off the final corner. Has he got his nose on the inside here for a good run into Tamburello? This is what he's been waiting lap after lap for. Tinsey's been shoved to the outside line. He's going to have the inside for the second part though, but he doesn't bother fighting it on the outside line through turn 1. And so Cunningham finally makes his move.
Yeah, that was an excellent move, and it started all the way back in the last turn there onto the start-finish straight, where Cunningham, like you say, got that good exit. There was a GT car, but it didn't really play too much into it. There was still enough room for Cunningham to put it down the outside, and then that turned onto the inside, and he pretty much got the job done. Great move, great driving from Cunningham, and I think he'd been measuring that up for the last couple of laps.
He certainly has been, basically for the first 17 laps of this race, to be honest. He's been measuring, sizing up his opponent, and finally he has struck, trying to take his second podium in a couple of weeks, of course. Winner at Le Mans. Wasn't able to attend at the Hungaroring, and it did end quite a drought for him, that win at Le Mans. A podium drought, 3 race. Only his second ever win in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. Finally broken that now. Will he be able to take another one before the end of the season? It is very possible. We go onto the front straight again. Young Park coming under increasing pressure. He's going to be very motivated to keep Ryan Robertson behind him, though, because that BMW is providing a little bit of a buffer between himself between himself and Johan Shirazi just behind. As we look at the reason Nickel Kopkar is no longer in this race.
Yeah, another big hit there, and that was just too aggressive with the curbs. And if your front wheels aren't in contact with the tarmac, you're not going to be able to steer the car, and that's pretty much what happened there.
Now, here is Robertson. Maybe Park does want Robertson to go through here. I was just talking there about the buffer that Robertson was providing Young Park with in this battle for second, but no longer. He almost ushered Robertson through.
Yeah, maybe felt by battling he was losing time, and just maybe he's thinking if he can get Robertson through, maybe tag onto the back of him if Robertson's faster, and it might pull him along. But we're just seeing, I think that's Cunningham in the background looking to come and put a move on these guys as well.
That is true. Ducking and diving, weaving through the traffic. Gets 2 GTs between himself and Tinsey there, as we see a side-by-side battle with Christopher Pays, who's been in the walls today. As you can see by the angle of that rear wing. Late on the rear brakes. Oh dear, that looks awfully familiar, I'm afraid, to some. Variante Alta. He tries to gain 1 place, ends up losing maybe 2 as we run down towards Ravazza here.
Yeah, less downforce and not enough.
Yeah. True.
Not enough downforce, should I say, and too much ambition there.
Very true. Although sometimes iRacing damage is a little bit weird. Sometimes, obviously, a rear wing in real life would never get that angle, but sometimes it doesn't. It's only really cosmetic, to be honest. Sometimes that kind of damage. Although sometimes it can absolutely ruin the handling. So who knows which they've chosen for that particular bit of damage to Christopher Pays. He's down the field at the moment in 11th place in the GT3 overall race. Excuse me, 12th place, I should say.
Yeah,
some
like
of the AMs.
Paul Gibson's just put his fastest lap of the race in on that last lap as well, so he's really got the hammer down and looking to consolidate that lead at the moment. So he's a man on a mission with his like I say, his fastest lap of the race on the last one. But Robertson doing a cracking job running in second place at the moment, and it'd be interesting to see if he does pull away from Park in third overall of the GT class now that he's like you say, I think Park pretty much let him through. And
yeah, you can almost see why. Although I think you were right in him wanting to hitch onto the back there and try and catch up to Gibson. That's obviously not going to happen, even if Robertson does get up there himself, because he's completely left the 2 Porsches behind him here. Robert Cast has completed a great run to the front of the Amfield, by the way, or the front, excluding Ryan Robertson, into second place. He's just got past Luke Schmidt, who was leading that little battle for a while. Bradley Salmon just came in, though, in the Lamborghini. He's making an early stop here, which is good to see. We really didn't see this in the first half of the season. Everybody was very organised in coming in basically when the fuel ran out, and then everybody came in together in the GT3s. But in recent weeks, we start to see people shake things up a little bit, and Bradley Salmon is doing just that by coming in after only 27 minutes in this race today, hoping to jump both Cast and Schmidt and get up into second place.
Yeah, it's everybody's favourite thing to do is to stay out there as long as possible, isn't it? But it's nice to see a few people trying to change it up a little bit. But I think the odds seem to be stacked against them, because it does seem to be the most successful way of attacking any sort of race is to stay out there as long as possible and just make it as short a pit stop as possible, obviously. But we've seen a few mistakes in pit lane in recent rounds as well. So it's not all cut and dried. It's not all it's not over until that checkered flag falls. So keep watching and keep making notes of who's where and who's attacking who, because it's still half of this race to go, and it's not over by a long way.
The big advantage, of course, is doing the strategy by running the tank drives that you keep the car as light as possible for as long as possible during the race, excluding the pit stop time. Because if you come in around half distance, then your pit stop time will be the same as long as you calculate it right. At least you might put a bit of insurance fuel in there, but it should be roughly the same. It's about the fuel load that can be surprisingly heavy. So there we are. A couple of battles got. Sorry?
I was going to say the man we need to watch is Jeffrey Humes, because he seems to be the one of the drivers that's had the most issues with pit stops in recent rounds, and he's literally thrown a few positions away with bad pit stops.
Yeah, last week or 2 weeks ago though, it was damaged though.
Yeah.
So we can't blame him for. But you're right. We have seen. I think it was David A. Williams who did it at some point. In the. I can't remember where. But,
was it Williams or Humes that took tyres by mistake?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I feel like maybe both, but I feel like it was Williams, although you could be convinced me to say it was Humes, so I can't remember. There's been quite a lot of races in this championship now, and so our memories, and Daytona, for example, I think it was early December of 2021, wasn't it? So, yeah, it's becoming quite a long time ago, and I'm struggling to remember the... remember all of the details, but anyway, yes, it's been a long season, and yeah, we're forgetting what year we're in. So there we are. Nice. Meanwhile, the battle for second in Gt3 Pro is happening still. Young Park is in the strong position. Jersey trying to get through, or well, I say trying to get through, or is he really? Because he's not even made an attempt in the time that he spent on the back of this Porsche. He's just sat there for the minute. I just wonder if he's waiting for those pit stops. You can't really save fuel very easily around here, or very much anyway, in a situation like this. It's a different situation at Daytona and Le Mans, for example. But he is just sitting there at the moment, very happy to just be in that third place for now. I can't imagine that he will stay there for the entirety of the rest of the race, but he is at least for now.
Yeah, absolutely, and it looks like Smith's making his pit stop at the moment. Billy Smith, he's gone into the pits from that 6th place, so we'll see how that all shakes out for him, because I think he's the first one of the prototypes to make his stop. So yeah, let's see if he can jump any places by doing that. I don't think he will. It's all fairly regimented with the prototype pit stops, as we said, unless they make a mistake.
Yeah, it is. They don't have much leeway actually on some circuits, especially. This one is not so bad, but some circuits it does get a little bit squeaky, as Billy Smith does indeed complete a 23-second pit stop, drops to the back of the LMP2 field. Where can he get up to though in this race? Peterson currently in that 5th place, to finish in 6th, and Kundinger in 2nd, as they were running just there. Kundinger would gain 8 points back from that 21-point deficit, putting it down to just 13 with 2 races remaining. As through again, Cast and Schmidt have been exchanging positions over the last few laps, and that once again does look like an exchange of position rather than an actual battle. Schmidt just let Cast through.
Yeah, again, I mean, you can't think that these two have got any hope of trying to work together to catch Robertson, because he's just in it. He should be in a different class, but he's just up the road. He's away. But maybe it's just a case of they're just trying to follow each other around. They've got similar pace, and there's no point battling too much and slowing each other down or risking damage. But having said that, it's looking like Cast's getting away a little bit.
He is just having a couple of car lamps at the moment, as we see the pit stops for LMP2. It's very much the time to come into pit lane, and Billy Smith is going to try and gain with a bit of an undercut here. 23 seconds was his pit stop. That is 3 seconds shorter than Humes, a good 1 second shorter than both Kundinger and Tinsley's pit stops. Almost pit stops going on for a very long time here, as it nudges above 30 seconds. What's happened to him? Leif Peterson does have a 1 second slower pit stop than Smith, so he should get out in front. But John Ulmer is having a very, very long pit stop. 41 seconds for the Season 2 champion of the LMP2 division. He drops way behind Dornenberg, Smith and Peterson and all of those at the moment. That is a surprise to see John Ulmer down in 8th position after that stop was 41 seconds, far too long.
Yeah, the pit stop demons have struck again. Whether he's taken tyres, whether he's had some damage, or I have no idea, to be fair. We may find out towards the end of the race, but definitely that has cost him some positions, and yeah, almost twice as long as anybody else stationary in the pit box.
Absolutely. The order not quite corrected because Chris Sherburn has been able to go 1 lap longer than anybody else on the fuel here, so he'll be coming in surely at the end of this lap and correcting the order properly. Peterson is now under a little bit more pressure than he was from Smith, who will gain that 1 place and gain another 2 points from Ulmer dropping down, but there's another 2 on the line here. Peterson going to have to defend, and of course he's just trying to do the best he can in this race. Smith, of course, trying to get a championship. He's going to take some damage today, though, by the looks of things. He is going to lose a bit of a lead as we see Paul Gibson, the first of the real GT3 contenders, to come into the pit lane here as well. He's looking good at the moment for a race win here in GT3, but once again, he will just need to do everything right and make sure he does do everything right over the next 23 minutes to make sure he gets his, what I believe is his first race win of the season here. Although he did run, it's his first win since Daytona at the opener, I should say. I'll correct myself there. So there we are. He has won previously, but yes, he's doing a decent job at the moment and looking like he's on course for maybe another here.
Yeah, Billy Smith showing some good pace. He's gained that position now, hasn't he? And he's gone up because he went into the pits in 6th place, and he's now up into obviously 5th and challenging for 4th. Whether he can hang on to the back of Peterson and put him under any sort of pressure is yet to be seen. But he's certainly in a good position at the moment to tag onto the back. It will just depend how they manage to fight their way through the GT cars, and they're just coming across one now in a pretty difficult area of the circuit. It has to be said to get past, but it looks like the check Billy Smith actually just check up there as the GT car moved across the track. I thought it was going to slide on by, but no, not to be.
Bit of a miscommunication there. Certainly, I think that might have even been Ryan Robertson who was the GT involved. My goodness me, that was so close to being contact. Smith certainly losing time. 1.5 seconds now is the margin to Peterson, but yeah, he looked like he was going outside, inside, and then outside again. And Robertson was moving around a little bit. Oh, I think it was Robertson anyway. The BMW certainly moving around just a little bit. This is the pass for the lead in GT Pro, by the way. Oh, it was Young Park off the road. Side-by-side battle into the Villeneuve chicane, and that's exactly why we don't see very many battles into there at all, because Shirazzi and Park came into contact, and off the road went the Porsche.
Yeah, that's not where you want to be, as well as we're just looking at Patrick McDaniel there, just losing it all by himself there, just a little bit asking too much of those rear tyres and having to pull out of the way now, and probably see him have to try and negotiate a 3-point turn on the grass to rejoin the circuit, so that's cost him a fair bit of time and probably a few positions.
3-point turn was nicely executed though. He'd probably pass with that. That'd be nice. So there we are, back on the road again. But yeah, loads of GTs in now. Shirazzi, pretty much the only one not to have come in here actually, along with Ryan Robertson, of course, who's now leading the GT3 overall once again. Jason Iverson and Mark Tantana are the other two we have not yet seen in the pit lane. Paul Gibson's pit stop a little bit longer than everyone else's, 2 or 3 seconds longer than everyone else's pit stop, but maybe just a bit of an insurance policy in there because he does have a rather big lead anyway, deciding to just take on a little bit of extra fuel for the peace of mind. As we look at Jeffrey Eames for one of the first times today. We saw him at the front off of the start of this race. We saw him control a nice start. He got off to a very good start indeed. Got out to a big lead. And this is the first time we've seen him since, because he's been absolutely nowhere near anybody in this race.
No, absolutely not. He's doing everything he needs to do, and it's worth mentioning as well. Every race that he's entered, I believe, he's set the fastest lap of the race during the race, regardless of where he's finished. So he's certainly got the pace in the car. He's normally got the consistency. We've just seen a couple of little mistakes from him that have cost him, you know, a good results, race wins potentially, but yeah, Jeffrey Eames is certainly the man to beat in the prototypes at the moment. Williams was of similar pace, I think, but yeah, Eames was the man to beat. But we're looking now at Peterson on the back of Tinsey, and he's looking to try and put him under pressure, and Cunningham at the moment is away up the road.
Yeah, Tinsey's last lap time was 9 seconds slower than it should have been, or at least slower than where he has been previously. So yeah, this is why this battle has all of a sudden come to the surface. Getting past one of the Audis out of Acqua Minerale up towards the Variante Alta. But yeah, Tinsey all of a sudden under pressure and trying to hang on to another podium. It'll be his 5th in a row if he can convert this, and the first of those 5 that is not a second place. And by the way, your stat on Ooms being fastest lap on every race he's entered is about to, by the way, and it's also correct. He's also been pole in every race he's entered, so there we are. He's a very good over 1 lap, but not been able to convert always over the full hour. Has done 3 times, but it has been since Watkins Glen that he's last taken a victory. This will be his first victory on non-American soil here in season 11. Back into Tamburello for this 3. Billy Smith all of a sudden can sniff a podium, quite possibly. What a drive of damage limitation that would be.
Yeah, absolutely it would. It's just looking very close here, though. I mean, look at Peterson now. He's very much he's looking like Smith behind him. He's closing and he's wanting that position off him, but he's got his eye forward on Tinsey, and it's Tinsey that's falling backwards at the moment. It has to be said that Tinsey's not having the most consistent of races here, and Peterson is definitely looking to make a move forward. But Smith is also. I think Smith could be on in the time that's left in this race. If he can maintain the pace, maintain the consistency, he could be looking to gain 2 positions here.
He will certainly be aiming for that, you would imagine. But can he? That is the more pressing question. Into the chicane again. Traffic has just split them up for the last couple of moments. So it's now 8 temps. We go back though to Dunenberg and Ulmer. John Ulmer seems to be a bit quicker than those around him at the moment. I do wonder if he's taken on tyres here, or at least 2 of them. 41 seconds of a pit stop is not really a kind of pit stop time you often see. So it'll be interesting to get to the bottom of that. But either way, Billy Smith is trying to gain another couple of points here. Peterson trying to deny him and get a podium himself. On the defensive, but Smith breaks late and goes through. That's almost looked coordinated from the 2 of them there. Smith right round the outside, which was brave, but Peterson breaks so early that the championship leader was just able to roar around the outside. Well, I think Peterson almost got spooked by the fact that, he thought that Smith was going to try and make a free wide situation with that Audi. So Peterson was backing out of that one very quickly. He didn't want any part of it. And Smith just took the initiative, broke later, and took that 4th place away. Another 2 points for Smith, possibly vital couple of points. Fourth place now for the championship leader. Oh, Dominic Dunenberg out of Acqua Minerale, just saw it up ahead of. That wasn't Dunenberg at all, was it? That was John Ulmer.
It was John Ulmer indeed.
Those 2, they'd actually reversed positions, and Ulmer's made a mistake, and he falls back down to 7th. Let's see how it happened. It was Ulmer. He recently got through. He was already sliding, and as he's trying to accelerate on that curb, it doesn't make your life any easier, and that is going to do damage.
Yeah, for sure. There just isn't much of a room here to run off the track at all. It's once you're off the track limits, you come across a wall or some sort of barrier very, very quickly round Imola, and it's renowned for that. But Uma finding out that they had the hard way there, but yeah, battle's still going on throughout the field. We're seeing the prototypes still coming through all of the GT cars relatively cleanly. Then that's down to the slightly smaller field, as we've said before. But Peterson now he's he's struggling to stay with Smith, and it looks like Smith is on the charge to get that P3. And I think that's, I said right at the beginning of the race, didn't I? Watch Smith. He hasn't come through in the opening laps, but he's taken a little bit of time to wind up, but he's definitely moving forward.
Artie Kundinger here, you can see, struggling at the moment to stay connected to the race. Hopefully those connection issues do not persist, because that could, well, not mathematically, but almost emotionally settle this championship. Wow. Let's see, let's hope that does not continue for Kundinger as we go back to Schmidt. Bradley Salmon has lost a lot of time in this pit stop window for some reason. His pit stop was a good 5 seconds slower than it should have been, though. Not entirely sure why, but it just was that little bit slower. So he's back down to 5th. Schmidt has lost out to Cast, and he's still continuing to lose out at the moment in this battle for 2nd place. But Ryan Robertson at the moment is miles in front of everybody, looking to seal this championship with another race victory. It would be his 7th out of the 12 races so far. More than a 50% win rate. More than a deserving champion in just under 15 minutes time.
Yeah, don't these races go really quickly? I mean, we sort of say 60 minutes, but it has absolutely flown by. It soon comes round to that pit stop, and once that pit stop's made, these guys, it just, 15 minutes, it's difficult. And I am watching that Smith. I mean, Billy Smith is closing that gap down on Tinsey, and Tinsey's going to have one eye behind him, because he's potentially going to lose that podium place.
Yeah, he will not want to lose out at all on that. Tinsey with his own championship aspirations in mind, by the way, coming to today 32 points behind Smith, only gaining 2 at the minute, and so would really need to make some strides in 2 weeks' time to actually gain points here. We haven't spoken about the GT Pro Championship very much today, because the top 3 in that title race are not with us, but Paul Gibson is getting himself back into contention somewhat. He's going to be, at worst, 53 points back. Well, he's having connection issues of his own, actually, so let's hope that they don't persist for him either. But at worst, he's going to be 53 points back with 2 rounds to go. That is going to keep him in contention. Albert Jones not scoring enough points today to stay in contention, unfortunately, so he will drop down. But, I mean, Ross Booth has done such a great job in this championship. He's got 43 points at the moment. That gap is going to extend by another 21 to Wasilewski. So it will be 64 points in the advantage of Ross Booth, because he's currently dropping a round of 31 points. Obviously this round will become his drop week, and so he's going to actually gain 31 points on his tally by doing absolutely nothing. Just shows you what a remarkable season Ross Booth has had. And what remarkable consistency. Only 1 race outside the top 5. This is going to be his 2nd finish outside the top 5, and he didn't even start.
Yeah, I mean, that GT Pro class has been outstanding for consistency. I mean, those, hit Bradley Haley, Ross Booth, they've all been, really, really good at... it's always been the same guys at the front battling. They've always been finishing on the podium. They've always been there or thereabouts, and... yeah, I think that's been one of the closest sort of battles, and it's just Booth that's managed to be the consistent one, and he's the one that's coming out on top of it all. But yeah, you would be forgiven for thinking it was a lot closer, that championship battle between those guys, because it is always the same sort of 3-4 guys in that top 4.
Dear, and it looks like Paul Gibson's connection issues have indeed sent him out of this race, or at least... is he out at the moment? It does look like he's out, or at least disconnected for the moment. That car drops down to 5th, and he continues to drop down. He's about halfway around the lap at the time. He's dropped outside the top 10 of the GT3s right now, and so Johan Schurzy now takes the lead. Late drama for Gibson, and not the drama we wanted to see at all. It's now only 2.5 seconds for the top 2 in this class, but not the way you want to see the lead change hands.
No, absolutely not. And the drivers will take it, but it's not the way they want to take it either. They want to fight for it, but unfortunately, these things happen. It's the equivalent to a mechanical failure in a race, isn't it? It's just one of those things that's out of everybody's control.
Yeah, Series' best result in this season so far is a 4th place. It's only his 5th appearance in season 11. It was a bit of a late starter, so he finds himself down in 23rd in the standings. But that's not quite representative of his pace, I have no doubt. Well, we're seeing it. We can have no doubts. Just less than 10 minutes to go here, and there are still a few battles going on. This one for 6th in Gtm is one of those. Billy Smith and Leif Peterson are not too far away from each other either in the prototype category. Oh, as that's a big jump on the curve from Rosenbaum, who goes around and into the wall. Through the Villeneuve chicane, even the BMW can't deal with that much curb, and Rosenbaum goes around. He drops outside the top 8 there. Dale Green and Boyd Payne in the background move past him as well.
Yeah, another unfortunate incident, another unfortunate crash, and the crash that's cost him positions and points, and difficult one to deal with. It's all calmed down a little bit at the front as well with the prototypes, and I think Smith's it's maybe just a stretch too far to get that final podium place from Tinsey, because Tinsey's responded to Smith's late charge, and he's pretty much matching or beating Tinsey's Smith's lap times.
Yeah, he is at the minute, which is not ideal. So yeah, Jeffrey Humes still leads over half a minute to Carter Gundiger, who is doing pretty much all he can here at the moment. We're trying to get 0 incidents today as well. You do get a point for no incidents on the day. I'm not sure if he's going to have accomplished that today or not. I don't think we have any way of knowing until afterwards. But he did manage it in his victory at Le Mans. Also at Belle Isle, which might sound a bit crazy, but due to the street circuit nature, it's actually very hard to get an off-track there, because the off-track is the wall. And obviously you're avoiding them like the plague, really. So it's actually one of the easiest circuits, rather counterintuitively, to get no incident points. But this circuit, slightly harder. He's surely going to be aiming for that. He's kind of got to at this stage. He's kind of got to gain every single point he possibly can, because this at the moment is only 4 points over Billy Smith. He's really going to need any point he can get, and he's not going to get pole or fastest lap when Jeffrey Humes is here, so he's got to go for it.
Yeah, and he'll have that in his mind. I mean, if he's clean up to this point with no incident points, then he'll be happy, and he'll be fairly confident of bringing it home from here, because the field has spread out now, and you can pick the cars off. He's got a relatively safe gap behind. He's got no hope of catching Humes in the last sort of 6.5 minutes, so he can concentrate on maybe keeping it clean and gaining that 1 extra point for a clean sheet.
Clean sheet, if you like. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Didn't think of that, but there you are. 7th place is this battle in GTM. Dale Green versus Boyd Payne. At the moment, it's Porsche versus BMW, and the best overtaking opportunity is coming up in about 20 seconds' time out the final corner. Needs a good run through here, just Payne, to try and make a move, but doesn't really look like he's got it. The BMW not going to get a huge slipstream from the Porsche either, just partly due to its size, I suppose, but it's still too far back, you would imagine, closing all the time. But the twisting nature on the run-in to turn 1 there doesn't help you as well into the Tamburello chicane, so going to be another frustrating lap behind this Porsche for Payne. Thankfully, it looks like Tinsey is going to get through without any issues. That nearly presented him with an opportunity, and nearly presented him with an accident as well, so they do have to be careful in the traffic once more. But Payne just going to be frustrated and sat stuck behind that Porsche for the moment.
Yeah, difficult, but you've got to bide your time, you've got to be patient, and you've got to pick it off, because at the end of the day, if you try and force the issue, that's when the incidents occur, and race-ending incidents, I might add as well sometimes. So it's you've got to be sensible about it, and you've got to just try and pick your moment to make the move.
You certainly have. Leif Peterson, you can just see in behind in the pink prototype there, but dropping off of the lead, the championship leader, Billy Smith. That was an intake of breath, because I really thought Ooms was heading for the wall there, just making his way through traffic, and it may serve as a small reminder to him that he can't take this for granted at the moment. He does still have to complete the final 4.5 minutes of this race to be victorious.
Yeah, I mean, he's pushing, isn't he? He's just pushing as we go to a replay now of Rosbaum, and he's just the BMW into the wall there, and just, yeah, too much curb.
A little bit too much curb, I'm afraid. Trying to get back going again without hindering anybody else is a bit of a mission, but that will solve it. Bit of a donut, and he's got back going again. So 4 minutes, just under 4 minutes now for Ooms.
What I was going to say, Ewan, though, is like, you know, Ooms is pushing hard, and you know, sometimes as a driver you want to keep pushing hard, because if you start backing off, that can also lead to mistakes. I'm not saying what he did to get past that car was the right thing to do. Maybe he should have eased off there, but maybe the reason that we are seeing him push on a little bit, because his lap times aren't dropping that much. In fact, he's still, you know, one of, if not the fastest car on the track at the moment. So he's certainly not easing off.
No, he's still pushing. So yeah, sometimes when you do back off, it's a little bit of a rhythm breaker, and you can make mistakes. Going as you are is sometimes the best choice. Possibly 3 laps to go, maybe 2. More likely 3 laps to go for Ooms, and indeed these guys are coming across the line at the moment as well. The gap for the lead in GT Pro is coming down ever so slightly as well. Shirazi got a 10th taken out of him by Park on the last lap, and the opening sector of this lap, Park has been making some inroads as well. It's an all-Porsche battle for second in the GT overall standings and first in the Pro category. Ryan Robertson is going to look like he's going to take an overall GT victory for the first time this season, which is remarkable for an AM car. Meanwhile, Boyd Payne is very close to the back of Dale Green, who sticks very much to the left-hand side, very much to the racing line into Tamburello, which you don't often see. You want to protect the inside here normally. Dale Green doesn't, and Boyd Payne is all too happy to go through the open door, and he makes his way up into 7th place. Porsche trying to come back at him on the exit there, but couldn't really do anything. And a bit surprising, Dale Green really didn't defend that one any harder.
Yeah, he maybe thought it was a lost cause, but it certainly wasn't. He should have maybe been over to the inside a bit more and forced the BMW to go around the outside and just make the battle last a little bit further on. But he chose not to, and for whatever reason he made that decision. But he finds himself now down in 8th position and trying to hang on to the back of Payne to maybe try and return the favour next time round.
We'll have a chance to come back at him. Still just over a minute in the race remaining, and that was wide from the BMW. And what's happened to Patrick McDaniel losing a place there to Christopher Pays? Dropping down the order. Yeah, he's off the road. Dropped off the road is McDaniel. Somewhere down here, actually. Somewhere at this part of the race. There he is. Just getting back going again. No, that's not him, is it? That's David Parry. Just him in front. So what's happened to Patrick McDaniel? Back going again now. But he's gone off at the final couple of corners. And that is weird. That is a weird one. Loses out on a GT Pro podium.
Yeah, I think he's just had a little bit of a spin from what I'm seeing, but yeah, it's be interesting to get a replay on that one if we can. But definitely cost himself some positions now as we there we go. He's just lost it all by himself there.
Looked like it. Similar to what he did at Tosa not too long ago. Billy Smith was right behind him. He'll be very glad that he wasn't a little bit closer to the back of that Audi. That could have been a disaster for him.
Yeah, and the recovery seems to take quite a long time as well,
Yeah.
unnecessarily, but so he's cost himself even more time there. But this battle here is still pretty close, but and it's not over yet. This is definitely going to be the 3-car battle now.
He certainly is. Unsure as to whether they're going to get a lap at the line or whether they're going to get lapped by Ooms again, because he's not too far behind these guys on the road, and 1 hour has expired from this race. So let's see if indeed he does get round to him. He's still not in that camera shot there, so probably not. We are going to get 1 more lap out of this fight in GTM by the looks of things. Ooms, though, is not too far behind them at all. There he is in the background. Is he going to overtake them or not? Because this could be the last chance for Boyd Payne to do anything, if indeed they are overtaken up on the run up towards the line, and it looks like they might be. It's going to be a bit of a nail-biter for the 3 of them. They're not going to want to be overtaken. Is Ooms going to take pity on them and just slow down a bit, because he has got a half-minute lead as Payne really nearly gets into the back of the Audi there down the hill towards Rivatsa. Is he setting himself up for one last go into turn 1, or are they going to be allowed 1 more lap? They are going to be allowed 1 more lap. Ooms slows down as he takes a huge victory in this season 11 once more. The round at Imola in season 11 goes to Jeffrey Ooms by a huge margin, and he allows the 3 to continue on with their fight into turn number 1. Boyd Payne holding off, David Parry holding off Boyd Payne and Dale Green at this stage. A little bit further behind, Ryan Robertson is going to be taking a victory soon, just ahead of Johan Shirazi, who's also going to be taking a class victory. Oh, it's Payne down the inside, very nearly of Parry. Here is Robertson, just gets overtaken by Cunningham one last time. But Ryan Robertson comes over the line. It's the first time we've seen a GTM car take a GT3 overall win. And Robertson crowns himself as our champion here in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge for Season 11. With 2 rounds to go, his points tally is enough, as Johan Shirazi holds on by half a second ahead of Young Park in the Pro category. A nail-biter right till the end there. And we're going to have a last gasp move here, are we? With Boyd Payne applying the pressure to David Parry right now into the Variante Alta for the final time. Has the BMW got a good enough run? Doesn't look like it. The Audi with a storming final chicane there actually. Looks like Parry is going to hold on to 6th place. Dale Green, though, has got an opportunity to escape one in under brakes here, although won't be doing that on this occasion in Travatsa. Through the final couple of corners of this race they go, and they are going to finish in the same positions where they started this lap by the looks of it. The BMW with a nice run. It's going to be a drag race up towards the line, but he's going to run out of space here. Side by side over the line, photo finish, but Parry's going to take it by just a 1/10 of a second. Well, Imola has been and gone then in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, and the most notable thing about the results here, Ryan Robertson at the front is going to be crowned champion in the GTM category. He wins on the day by 24 seconds ahead of Robert Cast. Luke Schmidt comes in 3rd ahead of Franco Margarella. Bradley Salmon's long pit stop in the end cost him. He finishes 5th. David Parry held off Boyd Payne and Dale Green for 6th. Jason Iverson finishes down in 9th, with Jordan Rosenbaum rounding out your top 10. Moving on to GT Pro. Slightly smaller field here than usual, but a slightly smaller winning margin as well, only half a second. Shirazi to Park. Christopher Page finishes on the podium ahead of Patrick McDaniel. Paul Gibson didn't get to the end, unfortunately. He disconnected from the race. Nico Kopkar, and Mark Kudrowski, and Albert Jones also failed to finish. Finally, in your prototypes, it was a runaway victory for Jeffrey Ooms ahead of Carter Kundinger, who gains a measly 4 points over Billy Smith in the championship. Robert Tinsey also gains points with a 5th consecutive podium. Lee Peterson rounds out the top 5. Dominic Durnenberg finished at 1:10, back in 6th position. Chris Sherburn the first car lap down. Daniel Nunes, John Ulmer and Austin Young round out your 10-car prototype field. Well, there it is for Imola here in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. We crown a champion in Ryan Robertson in the GTM Championship. Of course, GT3 overall winner as well. Let's talk to him now. Ryan, good to have you here with us. I mean, the first GT3 overall victory for an AM driver. That is astonishing to see in itself. Just how was that race for you, and are you quite surprised that you've ended up with the overall victory here today?
I mean, yeah, Paul unfortunately had the disconnect, which ended up giving me the lead. He had the race pace on me by a couple tenths a lap. So, but I mean, I'll take whatever wins I can get. So, I'm surprised to come home, but I put in a lot of practice for this track, and I'm glad to see it paid off.
Yeah, absolutely. Your championship margin now as well is unassailable in the Gtm standings. You must be very happy to have sealed this one up with a couple of rounds to go still.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it makes those last 2 rounds just kind of fun runs. Still going to put in as much effort as I have, but it keeps the heart rate down a bit, because especially starting pole today, my heart rate was skyrocketing right from the start.
Absolutely, but press it off for the next couple of rounds. Absolutely, we look forward to seeing that. But for now, congratulations on the overall win here today, and of course the championship as well. Ryan, thanks very much for coming to join us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much, Ryan Robertson, GTM winner here at Imola. Let's go also into GT Pro now with Johan Schurzy, who joins us from victory, of course. Only half a second in the end there, Johan. It was a nail-biter right till the end, but you must be delighted with the race win. Talk us through those final couple of laps.
Yeah, it was definitely a little tense. I was calm for sure. I did see Young pushing hard to try to catch me, but I just kept my eyes up in front and just, drove it to the finish.
Absolutely. It was obviously a difficult race for everybody, but slightly less cars in the field here than we've seen in previous weeks. Did you really notice that effect here this circuit, or was it still very busy for all of the GT cars?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, normally I'm more towards the mid-pack, but qualified more up in front. But even then, the competition was still pretty even. I had a fun little train going there with both Ryan and Young at one point. But yeah, no, it was still fun.
Absolutely. It was fun to watch you as well do your stuff at the front and get that race victory as well in GT Pro. So congratulations on that. We look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks' time, of course. But thanks very much for coming to join us.
Yes, sir. Shout out to Blue Chew.
Absolutely, thanks very much, Johan Schurzy, joining us there from GT Pro victory here at Imola. Jeffrey Humes doesn't like he's going to join us here today from the prototype category. However, we do have Carter Cunningham there, so we'll bring him in for a chat, shall we? Second place on the day here today in both prototype and the overall. Carter, good to have you here once more. Chipping away at that championship lead of Billy Smith by 4 points here today. But do you feel like that was the most you could have got out of today with such a big lead for Jeffrey Humes?
Yeah, I mean, Jeffrey was just so quick tonight. I knew it was going to be hard, so definitely was shooting for second. I mean, heck, I was even shooting for third. Like, I knew I could beat Tinsey. I knew Austin was quick, so that would have been a challenge. And then, I mean, Jeffrey was just in a league of his own tonight, so, it's just unfortunate. But, yeah, I mean, all I'm trying to do right now is just, keep picking away at the gap that Billy has on me, and yeah, I mean, that's all I really can do at this point. So I knew I wasn't going to be too quick tonight. First time I've driven this track since they updated the track limits, so was learning that basically almost the entire practice session today. But yeah, should be a good fight for these last 2 rounds here.
Absolutely. What about those last 2 rounds? The Nürburgring and Spa coming up over the next 4 weeks. The gap is 17 points, or should be, to Billy Smith. What are the chances? How are you feeling about that margin with only 2 rounds to go?
Yeah, honestly, not great, because I don't think I've ever actually done an official race at Nürburgring GP. It usually is always either the combined or the Nordschleife. And I feel like when I do like VLN or such, the GP section is where I struggle the most. So that'll be interesting. And for some reason, I'm just, compared to my other competitors, I'm just not very quick at Spa for some reason. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I might have to put a little bit more practice into those 2 rounds if I really want to try and secure this. championship here. But I guess we'll just have to see what happens, with how drop points will fall, and really just whose luck is going to be on whose side for the last 2 rounds.
Absolutely, we look forward to those, of course. But for now, we'll let you go. Congratulations on second place here tonight, and thanks very much for coming to join us.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks very much, Carter Kundinger there from second place overall here at Imola. That is just about going to do it for us then here, Steve. Another fantastic race here at Imola for the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. Only 2 rounds to go now, though. We're really winding down this championship, and prototype looking even closer than it was before, which is certainly a good sign for us.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's a couple of faster guys that aren't in the championship battle that are sort of shaping the points that the others can scrap over. So it's going to be an interesting one, and I'm looking forward to Nürburgring and Spa. Obviously, we've got 60 minutes of Nürburgring, and we have a 90-minute race at Spa. So it's plenty of points to play for, plenty of time left on the track now, and plenty more opportunities for those pit stop gremlins to strike.
Oh yeah, we have seen a couple of those down the time as well. Make sure you join us in a couple of weeks' time. That's the 9th of May for our race from the Nürburgring. But that's not all from us here at the Virtual Grip Network, of course. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 to 9 ET for the PGRL Premier Series live from Dover on this occasion. Make sure you join us for that. For now, though, from us here at the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge, until we see you again in a couple of weeks' time at the Nürburgring, from me, Ewan O'Leary, and Steve Proudly, it's goodbye for now.